The 2020 NBA trade deadline is upon us. What is going on, y'all? Five Sports Talk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NBA, and here to talk about the trade deadline and whether or not the Chicago Bulls should make any moves at the trade deadline. So before I get started, if you're new to the channel, welcome, guys. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe. You support the channel. That helps me out a lot. So go ahead and do so. Post a lot of NBA content on the channel, and we'll be doing so now with the NFL season in the rearview mirror. But of course, NFL content will not stop with the offseason as well. So go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell icon to be notified every time I drop a new video. And while you're at it, folks, go ahead and follow me on my social media links down below for my Twitter and my Instagram and on the screen as well. Okay, you guys can reach out to me, ask questions, whatever it is. I'm here for you guys. So with that being said, let's talk about the trade deadline. Let's talk about what the Bulls should do, can possibly do. What are some of the options? Let's get into it. So first things first, before you even talk about the trade deadline, you have to look at what are you. And you can essentially be two things at the NBA trade deadline. And that is either you're a buyer or you're a seller. So we need to figure out what the heck the Bulls are. Are they buying at the trade deadline or are they selling? And here's where the current state of affairs stand with the Chicago Bulls. At 19-33, you would think they would be, 10th, 11th in the East, one of the worst records in the NBA. Oh no, they're actually in the 9th spot and just a few games out of the 8th seed. So, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because now it looks like maybe the Bulls are going to think that they're a playoff team, even though they're like 1-19 versus teams over with the record over 500. And they could look to, add pieces and become buyers. But honestly, I think that's foolish. I think the Bulls need to take a hard look at themselves and realize that they are actually sellers at the trade deadline, okay? Because here's the thing. If they are, or they think they're buyers, they're going to look to add pieces to this roster to help improve it for a playoff run. But inevitably, that will lead to what? A sweep by the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, do you want that or do you want a lottery pick? I'll take the lottery pick, knowing that I don't believe this Chicago Bulls team, as currently constructed, is obviously not a good roster and a playoff team. So with that being said, I think the Bulls should be sellers. Now, who should they look to sell? Well, there's a couple of guys that we take a look on this roster and we see, okay, maybe they don't really fit, okay? We've got our studs, or I should say our franchise players. Maybe they're not studs to other teams, and they certainly haven't played like studs. Some of them, I'm talking about Lauri Markkanen, who's had a very down year. We've got, of course, Zach LaVine, who to me, borderline all-star, should have made the team. Probably could have, but obviously wasn't selected. But he's obviously having a fantastic season, putting up 25 points per game this season and leading the Bulls in scoring. You've got those two. Obviously, the Bulls are not going to move them. Then you've got guys that are hurt. Otto Porter Jr., not really going to trade him because of the fact that he's been hurt. Chris Dunn recently got hurt, so, that sucks for him. Wendell Carter Jr., is banged up as well. A lot of the Bulls roster is banged up. Actually, Lauri Markkanen is banged up as well. So there's a lot of players on this team that are banged up, okay? So it's going to be hard to move those. Though, like I said, Chris Dunn's on an expiring deal. Teams could be looking to trade for him. But to me, it's really one player and maybe two that I would be looking to move. That is Thaddeus Young, okay? Thaddeus Young, who we signed this summer. And I told you guys, I thought it was a solid signing. I thought they overpaid a little bit, but you usually have to do that when you sign a free agent. He's getting paid about $13 million a year, okay? And he signed for about 2 more seasons, so the last year of his deal is non-guaranteed. And Thaddeus Young has been sought out by a lot of teams in trade rumors, most notably the Los Angeles Clippers, who have reached out and displayed interest. Now, again, this is from what I've heard through trade rumors. And why would you trade Thaddeus Young? Well, here's the thing. He's 31 years old. He doesn't fit on a roster like this. He probably wants to play on a contender. Oh, and he's expressed some disinterest in the fact that he does not get as much playing time. Now, obviously, it's changed recently with Lauri Markkanen going down with injury, and so now he's starting. But when Lauri was healthy, Thad Young was complaining about minutes. And here's the thing. we want the minutes to go to our guys that are, our future. Clearly, Thad Young isn't one of them. So, again, it's a tough situation. And so, to me, if you can get a good package for Thad Young, you move him. What is that package? Well, take a look at the Clippers, for example. What could the Clippers offer the Bulls? They've got a guy in Maurice Harkless who's getting paid, I believe, about $11 million a year. So that's good enough to max salaries. All you have to do is come close within salaries. And so financially, that would work. And Mo Harkless is 26. Now, he's not as good as Thaddeus Young. But again, take a look at what you are. If you are a seller, that means you are looking to accumulate young players and draft picks. So if the Clippers are, if they throw a first-round pick, I mean, you jump at that and you take it. But I don't believe they will. If they find a way to maybe, get a protected pick, or if they're able to give, maybe a few second-round picks, so I don't know if I would do that. But again, it's tough, like I said. But I would consider that. I certainly would. And so you, as a seller, would look to accumulate something. So a trade like that could work. Maurice Harkless, a couple of picks for Thaddeus Young. The Clippers obviously want Thaddeus Young because they are title contenders, and he would certainly help them with their bench depth, okay? And again, in terms of age-wise, Harkless is 26, which is closer to fitting in the Bulls' young group versus Thad Young, who's 31. So that's a trade I would look to, maybe make happen. The worst contract on the Bulls that, unfortunately, I don't think anybody will trade for, which is really who the Bulls should look to move, which is Cristiano Felicio. I don't know when or why, I should say, the Bulls ever gave him that 4-year, $32 million contract. I believe Bulls management at that point had CTE, or else I don't know why you would give him that contract. But that's the worst contract. He's still due about $15 million over 2 years. So I would literally dump him for an expiring contract at this point. But again, I don't think anybody's going to trade for him because, again, Felicio is awful, and that contract is even worse. So, again, there's not many other guys on this team. Yeah, you can talk about a Tomas Satoransky who's getting paid about, $30 million over the next, $20 million now over the next 2 years. But I think there's always going to be interest for a veteran point guard for a team, a backup, and now with Chris Dunn going down, the Bulls need point guard depth, so I don't think they will trade him. And so to me, it's really only one guy, potentially two, but again, no one's going to show interest in him. So it's really Thaddeus Young. I would look to move Thaddeus Young. I would hold out and see if I can get a team to give up a first-round pick for him. If I get a first-round pick for Thaddeus Young, even if it's protected, I will do it if I am the Chicago Bulls. Because again, this is fool's gold. I don't care that they are a few games out of the 8th spot. They are not a playoff team. This team is not ready yet. This team is not good enough. Stop falling for it, okay? So if I was the Chicago Bulls at the trade deadline, that is what I would do. But lo and behold, what do I think will happen? Absolutely nothing. I don't believe the Bulls will do anything at the trade deadline because that is what we have come to expect from the management, Gar Forman and John Paxson. They will probably think, hey, we're good enough to make a playoff run. Let's, get to the 8th spot so we can say we made the playoffs and, help keep our jobs. What can I say, folks? So, again, that's what I would do. I'd look to move Thad Young, try to get a first-round pick. A lot of teams are looking to, wait it out, like the Pistons with Derrick Rose and various other teams. Hey, why not? Why not the Bulls? So try for that. Let me know what you guys think. What would you do if you were the Chicago Bulls? Leave a comment down below if you agree with me or disagree. As always, thanks for watching.